Settlers 3 gold, is it worth a retro buy? Well, let's read the words. Let's not read the fucking words. Let's grab a bell and see what it's all about. Now, the game was originally released, Settlers 3, in 1999. It had 2 expansions and a mission CD. It's the gold edition that was released in 2001, which encompasses all of that. And that's what I'm actually reviewing today. But to give you an idea of how times have changed, the actual mission CD, which is kind of like what you would call a DLC now, because it wasn't an add-on, it was just like added content. This is what you got for a DLC back in 1999. You got 3 new 8-mission single-player campaigns. So 3 new campaigns, each with 8 missions. 10 new maps for single-player mode, 10 new maps for multiplayer mode, enhanced AI for computer-controlled races, and a map editor. Now, you get nothing like that now when you get a DLC. So it just shows how times have changed. Anyway, what is Settlers? Well, you start off with your few settlers, a little bit of wood, a few rocks, and pretty much that's it. A few weapons, a few tools, a bit of food, you know, not a lot, and a handful of men. And you have to make a huge, thriving civilization, population, if you like. Now, you do that by expanding your territory. You'll see a dotted line with the colour of your race going right round your base. You can't build beyond that. You have to expand that, and you do that by building guard towers, military guard towers, which once built will house one of your little soldiers, and act as kind of lookout towers. And they will expand the area, and you've got to keep expanding and expanding because you need to find fertile land to grow crops to feed you guys. You need to find mountain range to prospect and find ore such as gold, iron, coal, and all of that. You also need to find hilly land to grow your vines so you can make wine to sacrifice to the gods, who in return for their sacrifice will give you enhanced soldier upgrades. You also need to find gold in the mountains so that you can pay your soldiers to go outside of your territory and fight better. There's a lot of stuff you've got to do. You have to find forests to chop down, and if you can't find a forest, you're going to have to plant a forest so that you can have wood, because every building takes wood and stone. Now, for me, the best part of this game are the skirmishes, but you do get quite a big campaign. In this actual edition, which is the gold edition, I think you get 5 races to choose from, because you've got the Amazons as well. So there's a shit ton of single player missions. They are very samey. A lot of them are samey, but some of the maps are really cool in the single player campaigns, and it's structured around difficulty. So some races are harder than others. So it's a good way to learn the actual game. But once you've learned the game, I strongly recommend that you go into the single player skirmishes against the computer. It is so much fun. You can see there is a shit ton of skirmish maps. I mean, a shit ton. You've got user maps that people made back in the day that have come onto the CD. You've got the multiplayer maps, and you've got single player maps, and you've just got a random map. You can just say, right, I just want a random map, and you can just set how big you want the map, how many resources you want on, and you'll just keep churning out new maps all the time. It is endless amounts of fun, this game. I can't even begin to tell you how many hundreds of hours I've put into this game. Phenomenal. It's £7.50. I'm running it on Windows 10. It did need a bit of tweaking. I had to do a bit of searching around for how to get it to run, I believe, and that was just to get the graphic settings up a little bit, because the graphic settings were even worse than what you're looking at now. When I first started it up, I think it was 640 by 480 or something daft like that. One of the problems that the game has when I'm recording footage is that it'll swap between 4:3 and 16:9, but you don't have any idea that it's doing this. It's just when it's recording. When I'm actually playing the game, every second that I'm playing the game, I'm getting 16:9 right across my 27-inch monitor. You might be looking at 4:3 footage now, but when I actually recorded this, I was seeing 16:9. So don't be put off by the fact that it's in 4:3, because when you're playing the game, it will be always in 16:9. So, how you play? Well, to give you an idea of the depth of this game, just to feed your guys, you have to grow grain. So you'll grow your grain, you'll build a farm, which is a grain farm. The farmer will come out and you'll see the crops growing, and then he'll just cut them down and he'll bundle them up and he'll drop them at his doorstep. Then another settler will come, pick them up and carry them to the windmill and drop them down. Now the windmiller will come out, He'll pick up that and he'll take it inside the windmill. You'll see the wind sails turn, and that'll produce flour. He'll bring his sack of flour out and drop it down, and then a settler will pick that flour up and carry it to the baker if you've made a bakery, and the baker will use that with water, providing you've made a well, because you make a well and that draws the water, and then they'll carry buckets of water to the baker, and he'll mix the flour with the water to create a loaf of bread, and that loaf of bread will go to the coal miners. They like bread. You have to have meat for the iron miners, and so to do that you make a pig farm. Now the pigs need grain and water, so as you can imagine, the grain farm also supplies the pig farm, and the well also supplies the pig farm. You then make a slaughterhouse, and you will then take the pigs, well the settlers, when the pigs are big and fat, will carry a pig to the slaughterhouse. The slaughterman will come out, pick the pig up, take it inside and butcher it, and then he'll drop a big slab of ham outside, which is then carried to the iron mines. The gold miners, they like fish, so you have to make a fisherman, and he'll go and fish, carry the fish onto his doorstep. The settler carries it from the doorstep over to the gold mine. Now you see all this happening. Now modern games that have tried to do this, all that's missing. That entire thing is missing. It's just like, alright, if you have that building and that building, you can create bread, but you don't actually see it made. You don't see the process. And in this game, this is why games were greater back then. This is a perfect example of why games were so much better back in the 90s, because the attention to detail was just sublime. It was just there. That's just the food. It does this with everything. If you want to make a weapon, you have got to mine coal, you have got to mine iron, and then you have to carry the iron, the raw materials, down to a smelter, and the smelter will make iron bars out of that. The iron bars then go to a weapon merchant, who along with more coal will forge them into weapons such as spears, bows and swords. You can also build siege engines and catapults and things like that. So whatever you do in this game, there's a lot of ingredients go into it, and each one of them ingredients has to be mined. Now the enemies are doing that as well at the same time, and this is where the game gets good, because as you expand you have to build an army. So to build an army, you build these big residency buildings where people can live in, and that gives you more settlers. You build weapons, and then you build a barracks, and the weapons are taken to the barracks, and then the settlers pick the weapons up and they become a soldier. You can choose how the great thing about this, another great thing is, you can choose what ratio of weapons to choose. If you want mainly swords, you can set little sliders to how many weapons of each proportion, the proportion of each weapon that you want to build. You can also channel where the coal goes. If you need to build more weapons, you can channel more coal towards the weaponsmith than you do the gold smelter, for example. It's all them little things that make this game so good. Now, the object of the game is to kill everybody else on the map that is your enemy. Now the AI, sometimes it's great, sometimes it isn't. It just depends on how well it's expanded its base early on. And this game that I was playing, that you're looking at now, the AI was brilliant. Unfortunately, my partner AI was awful, but the actual AI of the enemies was really good. And on more than one occasion, I had to retreat when I was invading the enemy territory. And another good thing is, when you invade the enemy territory, if you take over their towers, you expand your area in their lands. And then you'll see me destroying their towers as soon as I've took them. That's kind of so that they can't take them back, because I don't really need them. The top strategy really in this is to only keep yourself one big tower. That could be, in fact, not a tower, a fort. You can build forts, and then the enemy have to attack that fort, because if you lose all your towers, that's how you lose the game. So if you have 20 towers, the enemy has 20 targets. It's going to be so hard for you to cover 20 targets at once. So if you only have one tower, you can build an army in front of it, and then they have to get past that army to take the castle, which is a really good strategy to use, which I use all the time. When you go into the enemy territories, and like I said, you take their towers and you destroy it, you still keep the land that was around that tower until they build new towers over that land, you see. When you're into the enemy land and you're destroying their buildings by taking over their towers, all the materials that are left belong to you, and all your settlers come charging down, all your carriers, and they steal it all and take it back to your supply dumps. Because you build these supply areas where you put all, well, you decide what you're going to store in these supply areas, but coal, weapons and iron and gold are really precious and valuable in this game, so you want to store all of them. And it's great just taking out half of an enemy's lands and pillaging it all and stealing his resources to make yourself stronger. It's such a good strategy game, this. I mean, I could go on and on, but I've already gone on long enough. But this is one of the best world building strategy games I've played. The AI is sometimes great, sometimes it isn't. It's just kind of depends on like I say, how they expand, but it is definitely worth a buy at £7.50. A brilliant game. Multiplayer sadly doesn't seem to work with the GOG version, but it's a brilliant single player game. It's the kind of game I play when I just want to chill out and relax. Usually on my day off I'll be playing this. It's just such a good game. So there you go, guys. Settlers 3 Gold is definitely worth a buy.